What's up guys, I'm Nuo, and today I'm going to be going over a Titan build that you can use in the Vault of Glass on day 1. I've dubbed this build the Bubble Guy, because at the end of the day, in the endgame right now in PvE, Titans are pretty much only used for their bubbles. So, of course, we're going to be using the Bubble subclass, which is Top Tree Sentinel, along with Towering Barricade, Magnetic Grenade, and Catapult Lift. Obviously, Lift is up to preference, and Grenade, again, really up to preference. I just prefer Magnetic Grenade. Now, there are a lot of different exotics you could use with the Bubble subclass in endgame PvE, most notably the Helm of Saint 14, but you could also use something like Dune Marchers or Lion Rampants, and the exotic I'm going to be using in this build is the Crest of Alpha Lupi. This exotic creates additional orbs of power from your supers, and creates a healing pulse when your barricade is activated. I'll quickly show how the barricade thing works. Basically, when you put your barricade down, you get a small chunk of health, which is going to be super helpful for staying alive in all encounters. And the additional orb will actually pair nicely with the bubble, which generally creates 3 orbs, but with this exotic on, your bubble will now create 4 orbs of light. And that pairs perfectly with the meta exotic that pretty much all of your hunters are going to be running in day 1 VOG, the Star Eater Scales. In order to get 4 stacks of Feast of Light, you need to pick up 4 orbs as a hunter, so your hunters can just run through your bubble and pick up all 4 of those orbs. In general, this exotic will just help you stay alive better, as well as generate more orbs for higher damage during DPS encounters. After all, you are the bubble guy, so your job is just to put down bubbles during DPS phases and other phases of the fights. So you're going to be putting the bubble down for Atheon and Templar and stuff like that. Now, the Bubble Guy is obviously a support class because your super is a support ability, and the Sentinel subclass really doesn't have a lot going for it outside of Bubble. So, we're going to use Divinity. Now, most people would say only use Divinity during DPS encounters, which is a valid criticism. It's a valid point, but I think in Vault of Glass, having a Divinity on your team at all times for all encounters is actually going to be really strong, because Divinity, although not really used often for it, has the overload capabilities, so you're going to be able to shut down the overload minotaurs that we all know are going to be there in the Vault of Glass, and the new wyverns they're adding into the raid. So this is going to be very helpful to shut those guys down. And then we'll pair that with a lasting impression rocket launcher, so when we do get to DPS fights, we can hot swap between Divinity and rocket launchers to increase the DPS. For our kinetic weapon, I'm going to be using an ignition code. This is not the role I want. I'm going to try to get maybe a field prep demo or a field prep one for all role for the raid, or maybe even ambitious assassin with those perks. I do want blinding nades though, so that's why I have this one on. And this will be taking care of all my ad clear, right? So I'll be using my grenade launcher for ad clear. If there are a few ads, I may just switch to my Divinity to kill them. And then I'll be using my Divinity and my rocket launcher to bake champions and majors. If there's oracles, I can also shoot grenade launcher at them depending on the situation. I can always switch up my weapons if I need to, but this is what I recommend, and this is what I'll be running if I ever need to get on to my Titan during the raid. As for mods, we're going to be running Special Finisher because our super is Bubble, and we only really need that during DPS phases, so outside of DPS phases, it's going to be important to have special ammo up at all times for our double special weapons that we're running. We'll just pair that with Protective Light, Blast Radius, so when we get kills with our grenade launcher, we get charged with light, as well as taking charge. So we have 2 sources of getting charged with light, which makes certain we are always charged with light, so we always have Protective Light active in case we need it, because the worst thing that could happen during the day 1 raid is you dying at the worst times. So the most important thing is survivability, especially with a subclass like Bubble, where you really don't have a lot of offensive capabilities. Just doubling down on the defensive capabilities with the Crest of Alpha Lupi is extremely important. For our mods, we'll be just using Trace Rifle, Grenade Launcher, and Rocket Launcher mods. I've got Grenade Launcher Scavenger and Trace Rifle Scavenger on, as well as Trace Rifle Ammo Finder and Rocket Launcher Ammo Finder. For my arms, I've got Radiant Light, so when we use our bubble, we charge everyone else around us with light. And I've got both Concussive Dampener and Void Resist on because those are going to be the most important resistance mods in the Vault of Glass. I can also switch one of these to a sniper resistance mod depending on where those pesky hobgoblins are spawning. My 5th combat style mod, I'm using Charged Up on my boots. I didn't really know what else to put here, so I just threw this on. You could also throw Global Reach on if you decide to use any sort of Seraph weapon, but this will just allow me to have 3 stacks of Charge with Light, which will make my Protective Light last longer. Yeah, there's nothing really special about that. As you can see by my stats, I've spec'd into 100 Resilience to make sure I have my Barricade up as much as possible, because that Barricade is my Get Out of Jail Free card in terms of healing, as well as a wall between me and the enemy so they can't actually shoot me. And then I've got 100 Intellect so I can use as many special finishers and bubbles as I need to. The other stats I would spec into would be Recovery. I would not even worry about your Strength, your Discipline, or your Mobility. So if you could get your Recovery a little bit higher than I have it right now, that would probably be pretty good. Of course, the most important thing about the build is showing off what we use for our shaders in the transmog system, so here you go if you want to see that. But that's about really it for the build. I hope you guys enjoyed this build. I released a Hunter Feast of Light build the other day. That's the build I am most likely going to be running during the raid. I am a Hunter for my team, but this is also a very good build. If you are a Titan on your team, I suggest running this build. Because at the end of the day, the only reason you're running Titan is so you can have a bubble. If you didn't need a bubble, you wouldn't be running Titan. So, if you're going to be the bubble guy, here you go. Here's a good build. And if you like the video, make sure to subscribe, drop a like. I'll try to upload a Warlock build, and then as many more builds as I can before Vault of Glass launches on Saturday. If you're interested in watching my team, me and Team Valorize are going to be running the race. We're just competing for a day 1 completion, not really worried about Worlds First, but we're going to be competing... I guess you could say, on my Twitch, which is twitch.tv/NewoX. I'll have a link in the description. And thanks for watching. Have a good one.